Under assessment and plan, it says 40-year-old with nonspecific symptoms, acute liver failure. Did the doctors diagnose you with acute liver failure?
Well, what happened is I woke up, I don't know the timing, but I know it was nighttime, so I woke up in the ICU and I asked my nurse, why am I here? And he said, you are here because you have liver failure. And that's the first time I heard that I have liver failure. And I had no idea what liver failure is. Honestly, I had no clue.
This says, patient should be monitored very closely for worsening of her liver function, as this may require referral to a liver transplant center. Did the doctors discuss with you your possible need for a liver transplant?
I know that they were discussing that with me, but my brain was still not in the right place. But I do know that they called my family, my husband and my sister. They called at home, and they told them that if I continue to worsen, that they may need to send me to LA, I guess was the one, for a liver transplant. And you asked me about my husband and how he took that. And honestly, this is a devastating experience because what do you tell an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old? And he was even trying to bring them to the hospital because we didn't know if I was possibly coming home.
And this was COVID at the time. Were they able to bring children to the hospital? No. Shane, can we turn to page 11 of this exhibit? This says that your INR noted to be at 3 at this time. Did the doctors discuss this with you?
Yes, they did.
And it says that you need to be monitored very closely, and that would be monitored closely in the ICU at this time.
Yeah, I was in the ICU for about, I don't know, 2.5 days. I know that twice I had a complete body ultrasound. That's how we start. Then I had a CT scan. They were looking what might have caused that. They did a lot of blood work to discover maybe I've taken something to be in that condition. They scanned my head twice because they didn't know why my brain was so messed up. And with the double vision and everything that I was experiencing, they were afraid that I might be having a stroke.
Shane, can we turn to page 21 of this exhibit? You mentioned that they were doing blood work. This shows your AST on this occasion at 2,267 and your ALT at 274. Did the doctors tell you that your liver enzyme tests were astronomically high?
Well, the doctor that treated me in the hospital, he's a local doctor, and that's the one that I followed with. He told me that, actually, I think at one point I even had higher liver enzymes, but he said that personally for him, that's the highest he's ever seen. So it was hard for him to tell me what the outcome of this situation would be because they didn't know where that's coming from. And quite frankly, he hasn't seen anything like that prior to my case.
And on this same page, it says, due to the imminent risk of death and or decompensation, a total of 60 minutes of critical care time was spent in the evaluation and management of this patient. Did your doctors convey to you that your situation was dire?
As much as they could, but they definitely conveyed that to my family.
Who was taking care of Mateo and Christian during this time?
Mostly my dad. My husband was working, but mostly my dad. He was there. He was taking care of the kids, and he was even taking care of me when I went home. My sister was helping, but yeah, it was.
And they were age 7 and 11 at this time?
Yes.
What did you tell them about your condition?
That's a tough one. So when I was in the hospital, like I said, the first couple of days I was in no condition to speak to anyone. But after that, I knew that things are not looking too promising. So we used to FaceTime a lot. And as any mom would, testify, you never want to show any weakness to your kids, because if I fall apart, imagine how they would feel. So we would FaceTime, and they would ask me how I am, and I would put a brave face and tell them that I'm doing good. And that's very emotional. I'm sorry, but my kids would cover up with the shirt that I used to sleep just to feel close to me during the time that I was gone, and I would see that, and it's just unimaginable knowing that you are possibly not going to make it home to your children.
And I believe we have a demonstrative of this. This is not an exhibit that we seek to admit, just a demonstrative. Shane, can you please pull up the picture? Is this a picture of Mateo and Christian with your nightshirt?
Yes.
Shane, can we pull up exhibit 283, please? Vanya, what is this picture?
That's a picture of me.
Is this when you were hospitalized?
Yes.
So this was your condition when you're talking to your kids via FaceTime?
During the time, it was hard to stay awake. So during the time that I guess I was resting, I'm not sure. My sister took that picture of me. I did not want any pictures of that time, as you may imagine.
Shane, can you please pull up page 23 of exhibit 293? You mentioned your AST and ALTs were higher than what we previously looked at. They were taking frequent blood tests, correct?
They were, because they were monitoring my condition, and they were saying that if it doesn't improve, then things can only get worse from there.
And in this, on this record, your AST is 3,467, correct? Or 3,457.
Yes.
And your ALT is 1189?
Yes.
And if we can go to page 24, Shane. And here, your AST decreases a little bit to 3,279, but your ALT increases to 1537.
It does. And nobody knows why that's happening, because by that time, I can tell you that all the other blood work came in, and some clues that the doctors were looking for, everything was coming back, not pointing to why any of that should be happening.
Is anybody able to provide you with any answers why you suddenly have acute liver failure?
No.
It was that scary.
That was very scary. And like I said, at that time, I had no idea what liver failure even is.
Could we go to page 25 of this exhibit, Shane? At the bottom, under assessment and plan, here it references acute liver failure of unclear etiology, meaning they don't know what caused it, right?
That's right. They explained in detail to me what are some things that may cause liver failure, the typical, what do you call that? What may potentially cause liver failure. So that's why I'm saying that after my blood work came, they knew that none of what usually causes liver failure was causing my liver to fail.
And this record references a discussion with you and your sister at your bedside, and says that they do understand that if things were to get worse, then she will need to be transferred to a liver transplant center. What do you recall about this discussion?
That I was scared. I was thinking that I'm going to die. Basically, that's what was happening, and we didn't know what was causing my condition, and I was getting worse in the hospital, so something was there that was making me close to dying when it was gone.
While you were in the hospital, did the doctors perform a liver biopsy?
Yes, they did.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that procedure was like?
So, well, first of all, you can't have any liquids or anything like that prior to the procedure. And then they kind of put you on your side. You're awake during the entire time, and you are facing like a big screen. And there's the radiologist and the surgeon who's doing that. And there's like this big needle, but it's more like a big iron stick that goes through your rib. And you hear everything. You hear like the punching sound of the flash going through you, and then they take it out, and that's it.
Was that a difficult experience?
Very difficult experience.
And how are you feeling emotionally at this point?
I'm feeling confused. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling uncertain. I'm even feeling a little, I don't know, angry at myself. Why is this happening to me? What did I do? What did I do to be in this situation? That's all I'm thinking. Like, I'm thinking back. What could I have possibly done to find my body in this state?
Let's look at your ammonia level. Shane, can you pull up page 14 of this exhibit, please? This shows a high ammonia level of 33. Did doctors tell you that you had high levels of ammonia?
They did, and they explained to me that the high levels of ammonia is when you get this brain confusion, and that's when your brain stops operating, because basically your entire body gets polluted with all those toxins, and your brain kind of swells, and because of the pressure, you can't think straight.
When you were in the hospital, and you were in the hospital for 5 days, correct?
Yes.
When you were in the hospital, did you drink real water?
No, I did not drink real water. I drank hospital water.
And did you start to feel a little better?
The brain confusion definitely cleared. I still had the blood, the double vision. I still had the pain, obviously. I still had like the indigestion. I wasn't eating much. But yeah, I would say that I did start to feel a little better.
Did the doctors tell you that you could go home?
Well, the doctor just discharged me. They told me that I should go home, and then they'll keep a close eye, and if anything is to happen, to come back and to follow up with my GI doctor.
Let's look at the discharge info. Shane, could you please flip to page 16? In the middle, it says INR noted to be 4 on admission, started trending downward. Patient's liver function increased initially after admission, AST up to 3,400, ALT did peak at 1,700 with both started improving. So after you were not drinking real water, your liver function test started to improve, correct?
That is correct.
We can go to page 16. 17. Under discharge diagnosis, acute kidney injury, coagulopathy, fulminant liver failure, hypoglycemia, hyponatremia, leukocytosis. Were those your diagnoses at discharge?
Well, when I was admitted, besides when I woke up in the ICU and I asked why am I here, he told me that I have the liver failure, but I also had like a kidney injury, which explains why I couldn't hold myself. And basically my body was shutting off, and on some of the blood work, because I read my own blood work when I was searching for answers, my white blood cells were so high, that dangerously high, and then the other stuff, I don't know exactly what it is.
Shane, can we turn to page 27 of this exhibit? This is the pathology report from your liver biopsy. It says moderately severe macro and microvesicular fatty changes seen, and regenerative nodules are seen. Did the doctors tell you about these findings?
So what I remember the doctors telling me is that when the biopsy came back, obviously they use simpler terms to explain that, but they told me that my liver was dying, and that it was very fatty and inflamed. And then they said that those nodules were signs that the liver is potentially damaged, but hopefully it will regenerate itself.
After you got out of the hospital, how were you feeling?
I wasn't feeling good, but I was happy that I'm going home. So again, going home with the thoughts that at least I'm going home. I'm lucky to be going home and not going anywhere else. And I was, according to what the doctors were saying, I was doing better than the time of admission. So I was staying positive. Again, I'm going home to my kids. So I can't really show too many signs of weakness. But I was feeling weak. I was dizzy. I was scared. I was thinking that since no one was able to give me answers of what caused that, would I be going home and then coming back to the emergency a few days later, because something is obviously wrong.
After you got out of the hospital, did you continue to drink real water?
I did.
Did you start to feel worse?
Well, I did start to feel worse, because a couple of days later I was back at the emergency again.
Shane, can we please pull up page 29 of this exhibit? So on November 21st, a few days after your discharge, you're back in the ER, correct?
That's correct.
And Says patient states, I just don't feel well, complains of vision changes, leg weakness, and generalized fatigue. Patient seen here recently diagnosed with liver failure. Is this what you reported to the doctors at the ER?
Well, I didn't have to report much because I just reported how I'm feeling, yes. But besides that, they knew what my prior diagnosis is. So they were going off of that, but my symptoms just persisted. And the double vision was probably there for at least another 2.5 to 3 weeks.
What happened next?
What happened next is I went back home, and the fact that I did not have answers of what caused that was just, it was hard. It was hard to accept that I'm going home to recover from liver failure, obviously, but I have no idea what did I do wrong to get this diagnosis, and what can I stop doing so I don't have to end up at the emergency again. And I had obviously really bad stomachache, no appetite. I was still feeling dizzy, very weak, and I started losing a lot of weight to the point where within the next maybe 2.5 weeks, I've lost close to 20 pounds. I stopped weighing myself because it was scary to see how one's body can melt away, and I didn't have any muscle mass. I didn't have no strength to move my legs.
Did you go back to the ER?
I did go back to the ER again because as I was trying to sleep, which didn't have much success doing that, my feet and my hands mostly, I got this unexplainably hard pain. It's called neuropathy. I know what it is because they diagnosed me with that afterwards. But basically what happened is as I was sleeping, my feet, mostly some in my arms, but my feet were stabbed by like thousands knives and needles at the same time. So very painful experience.
Did you continue to follow up with medical providers?
I had an appointment to discuss everything again with my gastro doctor. That was probably around December 8th. And I went to his office, very close to Henderson Hospital as well. And one thing that I'll never forget, I go there and I see a set of stairs. And it's only like about 8 stairs, and I tell myself, okay, go, you got that. You can climb those stairs, just go, because I'm feeling so weak, but I want to go back to my old self. And unfortunately, that was the time that I had to take the elevators because I couldn't even take those, let's say, 10 stairs up to go and see this doctor. So I was a skeleton.
Shane, can we pull up page 34 of Exhibit 293? This is a GI record dated December 14th, 2020, under chief complaint. Vanya, can you tell the jury what this record is?
Well, when I went I was seeing a lot of, well, not a lot, but I was seeing my primary doctor, and then I was seeing this GI doctor. So my liver was still inflamed. That probably explains the pain on my liver. My stomach was burning the entire time, and just I wasn't myself. My regular habits were completely gone, as you can read from there. I don't want to, emphasize on that, but I was just completely completely different person. I couldn't digest any food. And I was 20 pounds lighter.
And during this time, are you being able to think clearly, or are you still suffering from the confusion?
I'm not able to think clearly. However, the confusion, my brain definitely went, it improved. But one thing that I did is I ended up researching a lot on my condition. So I Googled a lot and I tried to educate myself on what are the things that cause liver failure. Why did I get that? Is there something to prevent me from getting a liver failure in the future? So I read a lot, and that brought a lot of fears and a lot of anxiety. And for the next 2.5 months, I couldn't sleep because I was afraid that if I fall asleep, I'm gonna die, not wake up.
And are you having, in addition to this anxiety, are you having abdominal pain?
I'm
Still?
having abdominal pain, I'm losing weight, I'm not able to eat. I'm having this terrible neuropathy that I'm thinking, now what? Is that another something that's coming my way from some unknown reason? So lots of things, headaches, dizziness.
And at some point, did you go seek treatment at the Mayo Clinic?
I did. I went to the Mayo Clinic several times. That was actually unadvised that my regular doctor, not the GI doctor, but the other doctor told me that I probably should go to the Mayo Clinic because I'm a medical mystery, and I realized that doctors are humans just like us, and they want to tell you what's wrong with you, but if they don't know, it's not a good feeling for them either. So he gave me a referral to go to the Mayo Clinic, and I met with a team of people. Well, I went to a neurologist here too, but at the Mayo Clinic, I met with a team of doctors, a hepatologist, a neurologist, and they were all looking at my medical records, trying to figure out what happened to this lady.
Shane, can we pull up Exhibit 37, or page 37 of Exhibit 293, please? This is one of the records from the Mayo Clinic dated March 11th, 2021. And so this is several months after your November hospitalization, and you're still feeling weak and having abdominal pain, and your whole body is that burning sensation that started when you were hospitalized in November, correct?
Yeah, and the fact that I didn't sleep didn't help me too, because when you have any kind of pain, if you don't sleep, then you feel the pain even more. You feel it 100 times more. My eating hasn't improved. I can't really digest anything. I was eating very little. I was weak, obviously. That's would happen to anyone that loses weight so quick. Like I said, being thin is good, but when you have absolutely no muscle mass, it's not good.
Did your symptoms prevent you from working?
My symptoms prevented me from working. So the plan was, when I was discharged in December from the hospital. Well, first I was thinking to go back to work as soon as I can because I need to work, and I never planned to take time off. So I was having discussions with my boss. She was like, okay, just maybe wait and see how you feel. And then one thing after another, my mental health, me not sleeping, I was a complete disaster. I was worried. I couldn't focus on anything. So I did not go back to work until March of the following year.
How are you doing today?
Today, I'm happy to be here. I wake up and I tell myself that I'm grateful to see the sun every day. I'm doing better than November 13th. I'm active. I still have the neuropathy. I went and saw a bunch of different, not a bunch, but at least 3 different opinions on neuropathy. It's a progressive condition. It doesn't go away. It's better than when it started, and I'm kind of used to it, so I try to ignore the pain, but I still have it. Spoke to one of my doctors, and I told him that I'm going to get rid of that, and he said, okay, that's my wish for you too, but I want to pre-warn you that it's less likely that that will happen. And I do follow-ups on my liver. And so the last time that I was, I go to Steinberg, so maybe the end of 2023, I went to get a ultrasound of my liver, and my liver was fatty and a little damaged, I would say. So I'm instructed to do that at least yearly to see what happens.
You heard Mr. Johnson give his opening statement today, correct?
Correct.
So when Mr. Johnson told the jury that you were not doing any follow-up, that was not correct, was it?
Well, that was definitely not correct, because I am doing follow-up. But one thing that I have to say, and by the way, I forgot to even mention that when I was going through all that, because my mind was so affected, I wanted to be the old person, the fearless old person. I even went to see a psychologist at that time, but it was during COVID, so everything was virtual, and it's hard to do things virtually for certain things. So to say that I'm not following up, that is completely untrue. But at one point, you just tell yourself, okay, how many more doctors can I go and see? I'm still young. I have young children. I want to be positive. I want to look ahead. I want to be a good example for my kids. I want to be the strong mom that they look up to. I don't want to spend my life going from doctor to doctor. So I will follow up, and I am following up, but I'm just trying to move on.
And so, and you're still dealing with the neuropathy.
Yes.
And so when Mr. Johnson suggested that you had no ongoing symptoms, that was not correct either, was it?
No. And I'm dealing with something else either. The symptoms sometimes, that's one thing that I've learned, that how a person looks, it really doesn't mean much, because you don't know what's going on with the person that's sitting next to you. And many times we are just taught and raised, and to be strong for our families, for ourselves, to look ahead. I have health anxiety. I actually probably have a lot of health anxiety, because when something arises nowadays and I feel something, I'm constantly thinking, okay, what is going on? To know that I've drank rocket fuel gives me tons of anxiety, because I have no idea what long-term consequences that would have on my lifespan.
And do you have fears for the future because of that?
I do, but I can't let those fears overwhelm me, or at least I'm trying really hard not to let that happen, because I hope to see my kids grow and get old.
And are you familiar with Dr. Hudson's recommendations for all the plaintiffs in this case?
I am.
And he is scheduled to testify next week, but assuming he is recommending future medical monitoring, are you committed to doing that?
I am.
Okay. Did you meet with Dr. Sands, plaintiff's expert neuropsychologist?
I did.
And are you familiar with Dr. Sands' recommendations for the plaintiffs in this case?
Yes.
He'll testify later as well, but assuming he is recommending future psychological evaluations and care, is that something you are committed to doing?
I am.
Do you think that going back to therapy in your case is something that you would benefit from if it's in person?
I definitely think so. I've been resistant to that. I tend to keep busy and just tell myself, okay, but I definitely will benefit from that.
Thank you for sharing with us, Vanya. Those are all the questions I have for you.
Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Sorry, I have to play one. Good afternoon, Ms. Diaz.
Good afternoon.
Earlier, Attorney Pepperman asked you if you were nervous. I assume this part you're even more nervous about than the first part. Is that fair?
Like I said, I'm trying to learn meditation, so I'm trying to control my nervousness as well.
All right, well, that's a good practice to engage in. I don't anticipate this being aggressive or attacking in any way. Just going to ask you some questions, all right?
Go ahead.
All right, thanks so much. So, starting with just a little bit about background, I believe you testified that you began consuming real water in April of 2020, correct?
Correct. Like I said, we moved to a new home the March of 2020. So I don't know. I might have been consuming it like late 2019, early 2020 for sure.
Okay, but at the latest, maybe an estimate would be April of 2020. Is that fair?
Correct. Yeah, because we moved in March.
Okay. And you first noticed your symptoms in November of 2020, fair?
Fair.
Okay. So that'd be approximately 6 to 7 months after consumption, maybe longer?
Correct.
Okay. And your symptoms, when you noticed that you were experiencing symptoms, they included difficulty walking, double vision, neuropathy, sleep disturbance, weight loss, pain, weakness, brain fog, dizziness, shaking of your hands, and the incontinence issue that we spoke about. Is that fair?
That is fair, but not in the same order because my symptoms didn't all start at once. Like I didn't have neuropathy prior to the liver injury, the liver failure. I developed it after. The initial symptoms were dizziness, weakness. I didn't lose 20 pounds prior to that. It was after.
Sure. Yeah, but as far as the universe of those symptoms, those are the symptoms that you reported, fair?
Correct.
Okay. And we covered that you went to the emergency room for the first time in November of 2020.
Yeah.
And at that time, in November of 2020, you underwent a liver biopsy, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What I want to do is go ahead and bring up some of those records that Attorney Pepperman was asking you about. I wanted to start out, if we could, put it up on the board. For you, it's going to be page 28 in your packet. I'm not sure if we have the plaintiff's recent Bates stamps or not, but it was originally Bates stamp 2920073, and their new Bates stamp for the disclosure today is 2930028. Yeah, that's correct. Do you have that document available in front of you?
No, because I can't see where the page.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Permission to approach, Your Honor?
Is it in the binder?
It is. She just doesn't see where the number is that I'm referencing, so I just wanted to show her.
This is exhibit 293 to be correct, right?
Correct, yes. We just don't have the new Bates number. But if you look at your packet, the bottom in bold is 28.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, the screen says 292 is the exhibit number, not 293.
Correct. So we don't have your newest Bates stamp numbers. These are the same documents, but you changed the Bates number to get them admitted for a smaller number of documents are admitted.
So that's typically, we need to make sure the record reflects what's on the screen. So I'm looking at Tori because we're looking at me and the jury and looking at 292, but you're referencing 293. So for purposes of the record, you have to make sure we're
Yeah, it has to be
looking at the same
exact.
document. Yeah.
Take the document down.
Yeah, so
So
since
what's
we
the
haven't
new
had
Bates
those
number
produced,
for
can we just have your slides put up?
You have the copy I gave you yesterday?
Right, but I can't put that on the screen.
How about if we had Shane put it on for you?
Yeah, that's what I was just asking.
Yeah, we don't mind
Oh,
helping.
okay.
We just want to make sure you got the right numbers.
Thank you for that courtesy.
No, of course.
Yeah, so Shane, if you wouldn't mind, would you put up 29328? Thank you.
And for the record, I just sent them over to your guy, so he'll be able to look them up.
Okay, thank you so much. Then to page 28, please.
Pardon me, what was the page?
Sorry, page 28. Okay, great. And then if you wouldn't mind going down to the bottom half of the document. Perfect. Okay, and if you look 3 lines from the bottom, it says the above findings show features of a resolving dermatitis. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Okay. Did you happen to have a skin biopsy when you were in the hospital?
No,
No. The only biopsy you're aware of was your liver biopsy, correct?
correct.
You, to your knowledge, were you dealing with a skin inflammation issue?
None of that was mentioned.
Okay. Do you have any idea why your liver biopsy pathology report indicates that you had resolving dermatitis?
No,
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, that is inaccurate, correct?
oh, I don't know if it's inaccurate. I have no idea what that means. I don't know what exactly.
Your Honor,
it
I'm sorry,
is.
could we approach?
Sure.
Yeah.
Dr. Robbins is expecting a lot of errors in pathology report. This isn't speculation, asking you to provide skin biopsy, which you have skin information issues from the hospital. So what they're trying to do is show that the accuracies in the pathology report with regards to these particular findings. Exactly, it's the business. No, it's not. He can't really speculate as to what the pathologist meant. But he can absolutely identify that there are inaccuracies in the report.
But we don't know if there's an accurate.
That's why I'm asking.
But she didn't know.
She was testing under the liver enzyme.
But I mean, but
She would know for skin biopsies.
maybe not. But here's the question: you asked about.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get it. But was the doctor? Did anybody do anything in the study to delve into that issue?
They didn't acknowledge the treatment. What happens for this new issue that was raised with that? And I don't know how you can new issue. This is
No,
an
but
issue.
I mean-
There's an inaccuracy. Clear
You
inaccuracy.
can't. It's not a clear inaccuracy. You didn't take the doctor's deposition. How do you know if it's inaccurate?
She just said she didn't pass it.
No, she did. She said she didn't know. I mean, she was in a hospital. Right? I mean, really. I mean, how do we know it was?
Because it- it's
Oh, you don't.
biopsy.
You don't know if it was. I mean, the only way you would know if it was inaccurate if you took the physician who prepared the records, his deposition, because we don't know what happened. And anything we're that is speculation. And we're in Korea, and plus I've already read the
Your input emotion was limited exclusively to not speculating about what was going on in one of the pathologists. I'm asking this one, this why you should answer, you should have it for biopsy. I'm happy to move on to this one.
That's what happened.
Sorry, skin biopsy.
Yes, exactly.
Certainly, the attorney.
Exactly. I mean, the only way you could prove that was incorrect would be to the treating physician's deposition. That's it.
She knows what she experienced. She was asked after she about what she experienced. I'm talking right now. Please.
I mean, there's no evidence that it's wrong. Just because she doesn't. No. There's no evidence of that. She doesn't know everything. She's not the doctor. She didn't do the right. No, she should. Don't tell me she should know because there's no foundation for that. There's no evidence of that. But there's no evidence of that. Zero. If you wanted that in discovery, you should have developed that issue. No, how is that? She was testified she doesn't remember that, but she knows she had a procedure. I'm quite sure somebody talked to her about the liver biopsy. She was there because she had what? Liver failure. Right. Okay.
So she testified what she said. I think that's fine. We'll move on.
What was it? And what was your answer? You didn't know? Okay. Let me see the order. Which order is this? Okay, give me a short time. No, go down to the park. You gotta queue it up for me. Thank you. It's right here. This is this motion for the your waters, becoming sexual, not permitted sex, that must be as treatment and continue to take that was right. You see the position but counsel, why are we even going into this situation?
She's still going to testify that the report is wrong. She's not going to testify about what was in the brain of the hospital. No, I can't have evidence. Of course it can.
Experts can't say what experts not to say.
Right, but he can say his opinion for research.
No, he can't. No, he can't. There has to be a foundation for his opinion. It can't be based upon speculation, conjecture, and or science.
Right, he's going to just like
That's different than the report. Okay. Much longer. Okay. As far as the judge is concerned, it's the same, and that one response that's going to happen. Yeah, as far as the objection is concerned, I will sustain. I'll strike that last response regarding the report and the language set forth therein. Okay. Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, you need a break, right? Quickly.
Yes.
And understand, this is not a endurance test. Anytime you you have needs, let me know. And remember, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this trial, or to read, watch, and listen to any report or a commentary on the trial or any persons connected with this case by any medium of information, including without limitations, newspaper, television, radio, social media. You know that. Or to form or express any opinion on any subject connected with this trial until the cause is finally submitted to you.
All rest in the court for the
And as soon as they're done, we're ready to come back. And we'll be done we have to be done by 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
If I may, I've been informed there's been some publicity going out about a new real water case. And I know that on occasion, some judges say, please don't read about that type of stuff at the end of the day.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll do that.
Judge, and I join in that. I think we can maybe make it a little stronger than usual at the end of the day.
No, I understand. I do. Thank you for reminding me of that, sir.
Thank
I'll
you,
bring
sir.
that to my attention.
All right.
We'll do that.
Yeah. Probably we should budget.
All right, do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sir, you may continue.
All right, we're back on the record, Ms. Diaz. And if I didn't introduce myself, I apologize. My name is Tyler Watson, just if I didn't do that. All right, nice to meet you. All right, so I wanted to go back to the pathology report that we were previously looking at, and I believe we can pull that up now, which again is page 28. And again, you should have,
I left it there.
do you want me to grab it for you? Where did it end up?
Want to hang on?
Please. Permission to approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. There you go. So yeah, just back to page 28. And if you wouldn't mind scrolling down to the bottom portion of that document. So looking in the full paragraph called microscopic, do you see that paragraph there?
I am still not able to find that page
Okay.
because
Well,
I don't think it's in order, but I can look at the screen if
Yeah.
that's.
I'm just going to direct you right here. Just wanted to point your attention right here, where it says no significant fibrosis is present. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Did I read that correctly?
You do.
Okay. Did your physicians talk to you at all about the finding that there was no significant fibrosis present?
Somewhat, again, when a doctor speaks to a patient, I'm not a medical professional, so they try to use words that are simpler for me to understand. So they told me that my liver was very inflamed, but there was a sign that the liver was getting better.
Okay. And did they talk to you at all about scarring on your liver?
They did.
Okay. And did they tell you that fibrosis is basically liver scarring? Was that
They
communicated?
told me that I have scarring on the liver, but it's nothing alarming.
Okay. And so is that consistent with that finding that there was no significant fibrosis present?
That is.
Okay. All right. And then next I wanted to go to page 25, if we could switch over to that on the same exhibit. And again, let's go to the, oh, okay. And then we can go ahead and go to the bottom of that as well. And so this is a record from, looks like it was electronically signed on November 14th, 2020. Do you see that in the bottom left corner there?
Yes.
Okay. And looking under the assessment/plan section, the last part of that first paragraph says labs are better today, or also better today. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Were you told that by the second day of your hospital admission that your labs were getting better?
Well, I just would like to send a little reminder to myself too. But when I was checking in, my labs were going up and higher and higher and higher. So I was either going to go to LA or stay in Nevada if the labs were getting better. So yes, I did not go for a liver transplant, so they were slightly going down.
Okay, great. And that's what they say right there, right? Labs are better today and we will continue our current management plan. Was that communicated to you?
Yes, they would continue to observe me, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Then let's go ahead and switch to page 36 of this exhibit. And I believe that should be on your screen, Ms. Diaz. Do you see that right in front of you as well? Can you look there also? Just if it helps. This was a hospital record, or sorry, a treatment record from January 6, 2021. Do you see that up in the top center?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what was LVMGIG? Do you recall this provider?
Las Vegas Medical Group GI doctor.
Okay. And if you look under the orders section, so we can scroll down, it says 40-year-old with a history of acute liver failure which has resolved. Did I read that correctly?
You do read that correctly.
Okay. Was it communicated to you that your acute liver failure had resolved at this point in January of 2021?
Well, when I went to see this doctor, I didn't have liver failure. Yes, my liver was getting better, but he never said that my liver was like completely cured.
Okay.
I was advised to go and see him again, and you probably have a record of that too.
Okay. So as far as this January 6th visit, no one expressly told you that their position was that your acute liver failure had resolved?
Yes, it had resolved.
Okay.
Because if it doesn't resolve, you die. Isn't that the truth?
Right. In the next section there, it says her liver function tests have normalized. Is that correct?
My liver function tests, I don't know the record of what they were. I don't know if they were in the normal section, but they were not in the 3000 section for sure.
Okay. So no one communicated that finding to you when you visited on January 6th, that your liver function test had resolved, or sorry, had normalized?
No, they communicated that, so it's definitely a sign of relief that my liver enzymes are not staying in the 3000 range.
Right. I would imagine so.
Yes.
Yes. All right, let's go ahead and go to page 38 of those records. And if you look about a third of the way down, up at the top, it's a gastro note that says it was from March 26, 2021. So now we're 4 or 5 months past your initial hospitalization, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And under the history of present illness section on the 5th line, it says a FibroSure study of the liver also does not show any inflammation or fibrosis. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Were these findings communicated to you in March?
Yes,
They were, okay. And was that of some relief to you?
absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, then just one last medical record. If we could go to page 39. This is an April 6, 2021 Mayo Clinic note, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And under the assessment and plan, paragraph number 1 on the 3rd line, it says she has recovered from the acute liver failure and her liver synthetic function is also normal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And again, I would imagine that those were, that was good news for you to hear when they provided that to you, correct?
100%.
Okay, great. All right, so what I want to do now is just go back to some of those symptoms that we talked about, that list of items that you had experienced. And you had indicated that some of them started at the beginning and some of them showed up later throughout the process, but I want to go over that list, okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So one of the items that you discussed was that you had lost approximately 20 pounds of weight, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but that weight has since been gained back, correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And your double vision lasted for 2 weeks, correct?
More or less.
Okay. And the double vision hasn't come back since, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And you experienced short-term memory loss for about a week, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And the excessive sleepiness that you experienced, that was about a week also, correct?
That was about a week. After that, I had sleeplessness.
Right. And that excessive sleepiness has not returned since?
No.
And the incontinence issue, that resolved after you left the hospital, true?
True.
Okay. And the hand shaking that you experienced, that lasted for approximately 6 months? Correct?
About, yes, I would say so.
Okay. And of the symptoms that we just went through, you have not experienced any of those symptoms in at least the last 2 years, fair?
2 years, I don't know, 2 years is a long time. I don't know what those symptoms were. You only counted like a few, but I still have lingering symptoms. I don't know if they were counted in the section that you just pointed out.
Right, and I know I haven't gone over all of your symptoms. Just the ones that we talked about, you haven't experienced any of those in the last 2 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. Because one of the symptoms that you are still experiencing is neuropathy, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But you note that you've had improvement since November of 2020, fair?
Fair.
Okay. And what you experience now is way less than what you experienced in November of 2020, correct?
Correct.
And you, at least in October of last year, you indicated you were hopeful that you will experience a complete recovery from your neuropathy. Is that correct?
Yes, I pray for that every day.
Understood. The next issue that we haven't talked about yet is the sleep disturbance. You experienced that for about 2 months after you left the hospital, correct?
2.5 months.
Okay. And that sleep disturbance hasn't returned since, has it?
No. I mean, who doesn't have a sleepless night? But
Sure.
as an overall, no, I'm doing way better.
Excellent. And so, other than the neuropathy issue, your symptoms resolved in early to mid 2021. Fair?
I wouldn't say so. It took a lot of effort. Early 2021 is like right after my injury. When I pushed myself to go back to work in March of that year, it was really hard. And I have to be completely honest with you, if it wasn't for my desire to get back, I would have been still a mess. So I am better. I want to be better
Right.
again. I see myself as an example to at least my family, but it takes a lot of effort to do that every single day.
Yeah, and that's commendable.
Yes.
That's very good. And as part of your recovery, is it correct that no doctor has ever told you you're going to need a liver transplant?
Except for the doubt in the hospital, no, nobody told me that I would need a liver transplant.
Okay. In fact, you were never transferred to a transplant facility, were you?
No,
Okay. And at no point were you ever placed on a transplant list. Is that fair?
that's fair.
Okay. And you did receive some psychological treatment after your illness in November of 2020, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And that took place from February 21 to May or June of that same year, correct?
Yes,
Okay. So approximately 4 months?
yes,
Yes. Okay. And the psychological treatment that you underwent, that was because of the stress you experienced associated with the illness, correct?
correct.
Okay. And at the time, you were experiencing anxiety, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but you do not believe that you were experiencing depression, fair?
I don't think I did not want to allow myself to experience depression.
Right, I think that's what you testified to in your deposition, that you wouldn't allow
Correct.
yourself to be depressed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. And as you sit here today, you're not currently experiencing any anxiety, are you?
I don't know how to answer to that question because
Fair
I'm
point.
anxious as I speak to you.
Well, so let's go before you had to be here testifying in trial. Just generally, you're not currently experiencing anxiety other than associated with today's proceedings.
That is also untrue. I have health anxiety. I'm trying to brush that off and teach myself that, everything happens for a reason. Look at the big picture. I have health anxiety. I also have different fears. Hate to admit that because I want to be a strong person, but am I fearful of the unknown? Like I said, I went and read a lot, which
Sure.
wasn't good for me, wasn't good for my mental health for sure. And even going through some of the findings, knowing that I've drank rocket fuel, I'm not completely relieved to know that I'll be good.
Sure. Now, as it relates to this psychological treatment that you received, you didn't take any anti-anxiety medication, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. And you don't currently have any plans to see a mental health provider, do you?
Yes and no. So I'd like to maybe connect with somebody that can help me get stronger, but I'm busy. I haven't really taken the time to look for the right person. I listen to audiobooks. I try to, talk to myself a lot, but I probably can benefit from a professional help if I go and look for one.
Right. But as you sit here today, you don't have an appointment scheduled sometime in the future, do you?
No.
Okay. Your Honor, I could be done in 5 minutes if the court's inclined to go just a couple minutes past, otherwise I can wrap up here.
And then Mr. Pepperman, how much will you have after that? So,
Now I have 2 questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
I don't anticipate much more than that.
okay. Ladies and gentlemen, go.
Okay, all right. The last time you treated with a gastroenterologist related to your illness was 2022, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you do not currently have any scheduled follow-ups with your gastroenterologist, do you?
As a matter of fact, I do next month.
Okay.
Same doctor.
So that was something that was put on the books after your October deposition, but prior to
That's
today?
correct, yes.
Okay. And
Like I said, I'm still going to get a liver ultrasound at least once a year, just to have a peace of mind that I'm good.
And is that what the appointment with the gastroenterologist is for the ultrasound?
It's just an appointment. I have to get the paperwork for that.
Okay, so it's a checkup.
Right.
Okay. And you are currently treating with a neurologist, correct?
Yes, I went last year, I think it was.
Yeah, I believe that you went in early 2024. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. And no follow-ups since early 2024 with your neurologist?
No.
Okay. And the treatment with the neurologist, that is limited to the neuropathy issue that you're still experiencing, correct?
Mostly.
Okay. Anything else that's associated with your consumption of real water?
No.
Okay. And the last time you saw a hepatologist, meaning a liver specialist, that was in 2021, true?
Hepatologist, I went to the Mayo Clinic, so whatever the date on that is, that's when I saw a hepatologist.
Okay. And we just went through that. It looks like that was April of 2021?
Yes.
Okay, great. And other than that treatment, are there any future treatment plans that you have with a hepatologist?
No, not as of this time.
Okay, great. And since the illness, you're currently back to your form of exercise of choice is walking, correct?
Same plan, walking, staying active as much as possible.
Okay, great. And that's at the same frequency that you were doing prior to 2020, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And the time you spend outdoors, we're back to the same frequency there too, correct?
yes,
Okay. In fact, you're able to perform all the same activities now that you performed before getting sick, true?
yes.
Okay. And no one's told you that you will need treatment in the future, correct? Sorry,
Correct.
strike that. I actually want to ask a more specific question. None of your treating providers have told you you'll need treatment in the future, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And since November of 2020, you haven't had any relapses requiring hospitalizations, have you?
No,
Okay. And obviously, you know, no one wants to go through the illness that you went through, and I don't want that to get lost in the shuffle. But a couple of things, just to summarize. It's not a current plan for you to have a liver transplant, true?
true.
Okay. You're currently monitoring your neuropathy with your neurologist.
True.
Okay. Otherwise, there's no active treatment course that you're undergoing, correct?
No active treatment, just follow-ups.
Okay. And obviously, we've covered the neuropathy quite a bit, but other than that, your symptoms have resolved, correct?
As far as liver, I would hope so. Besides the fatty liver that was on the last ultrasound, I'm hoping that next time I go, everything will be beautiful.
Yeah, I hope that for you too.
Thank you.
And one last question. You're able today to do the things that you were able to do prior to your illness, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being here.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pepperman.
Brief follow-up, Your Honor. Vanya, you were
And then
asked,
after you're done, can everyone approach? We have one question from one panel member. I want to
Vanya, you were asked questions about future care recommendations by your treating physicians and about the damage and scarring to your liver. Did you have any discussions with your treating physicians about hydrazine being the cause of your liver failure?
Not at all.
To your knowledge, did any of your treating physicians study the damage that occurs to the liver as a result of ingesting hydrazine or rocket fuel?
Not at all.
Thank you, Vanya.
Thank you.
I think we need to go up there.
And are there any other questions? Doesn't look like it. I understand. I mean, I just asked the question.
Right. Yeah, I would have that question. That's fine. We put that that's my question.
Oh, I understand. I didn't, it's not my question.
No, I.
Okay, ma'am, before we release you, we do have a question from juror number 4, Mr. Dixon. And I assume this is based upon before you went to the hospital, quote, did you ever think drinking real water was the issue?
I had no idea. Like I said, that was the biggest contributor to all my stresses, because when you get sick, I wish that I went to the hospital and somebody told me, hey, don't do that when you go home, or don't eat that, or don't drink that. Had no idea. And like I said, what's the thing when you are not feeling well? You go home and you drink more water. Had I known that, it would have saved me a lot of mental struggle and heartache and a lot of suffering.
All right. And with it, no more, any follow-up on that from counsel?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
None for
Good
defense.
question.
All right. There you go. And thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
What time tomorrow? How busy is it? No, really. Wait. Oh, no, I don't I got you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow will be 10:30 once again. And it's important to remember, and we give these admonishments for a reason. And in fact, the law requires me to do so. I just want you to remember that. And so I'll go over it again. And then I'll have one other point I want to make with you too. Remember, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this trial, or to read, watch, or listen to any report or a commentary on the trial. And what you have to do is look at it from this perspective. For now, you're just going to stay out of the news, do what you normally do. You want to watch sports, or you want to watch 90 Day Fiance or something like that, that's fine, right? That's pretty popular, right? Yeah, I'm getting a couple of nods. But you understand where I'm going. But stay away from the local news, radio, newspaper, all that stuff. Does everybody understand? And you promise? Come on. Okay, thank you. And just as important, you can't talk to anybody about the case. And remember, newspaper, television, radio, I know you know about social media, I really emphasize that, but it's important to remember, no social media, and, yeah, if it's about hypothetically Raiders or, that's fine, but, or the Knights, I don't think they're doing as well this year, are they? But, remember that. And remember, and I guess last but not least, you're not to express any opinion on any subject connected with this trial until the cause is finally submitted to you, right? Remember that. And I think you understand why, because you really can't make a decision until you get the instructions, you hear all the evidence. Okay, 10:30.
All right, so
We are on the record here.
All right. Let's go ahead and set forth our appearances.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Teddy Parker on behalf of plaintiff.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Robert Eglin on behalf of plaintiff.
Maggie Dugan, the withdrawn on behalf of plaintiffs. Brianna Sensler on behalf of plaintiffs.
Eric Burton with the plaintiff.
Brad Johnson, Eric Freeman, Tyler Watson, and Mike Leftosito on behalf of the defendants.
All right, I guess we're ready to continue, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Just need the jury.
All right.
All rise for the jury. Please be seated. Thank you.
Do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hope you enjoyed your lunch. And it's my understanding we're going to continue with examination of this witness. And right now, we're going to start cross-examination. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Najm. Hope you had a good lunch.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you talked extensively about your background in environmental and civil engineering, but you don't have a degree in chemistry, that's right?
That is correct.
Okay. Have you done much consulting with bottled water companies?
I have done consulting with bottled water companies.
Okay. In the last 10 years?
Not to my recollection.
Okay. Now, we talked about your research projects that you did back in 2006 and 2011. Besides this case, have you done any additional work on hydrazine?
I have not.
So nothing in the last 12, 13 years?
That is correct.
We talked about your research papers. Were these research papers peer-reviewed by the scientific community?
Which research papers?
We'll start with the one in 2006.
You mean the research reports?
Research report, yes.
They were reviewed by a project advisory committee that the funding agency puts together.
Okay, but it didn't go through the peer review process that's done in the scientific community?
It was not a journal publication, so it did not go through that process.
Okay. Now, both of these papers were based on research at water treatment facilities. Is that correct?
No.
Oh, it was one of them?
There were samples collected from water treatment facilities, but the research itself was conducted in the laboratory that I work at.
Okay, I asked that incorrectly. The water tested and researched came from water treatment facilities.
In the second research, yes.
Okay, it didn't come from a bottled water facility.
That is correct.
Okay. Do you know what concentrate of hydrazine would have to be for hydrazine to be visible in water?
I do not have a number, no.
Okay. Is that something outside of your expertise?
I don't know anyone who has a number that defines when hydrazine is visible. But I certainly do not have that number.
Okay. Did you look at, you're talking about this water here. This is the retail bottle. Did you see anything that resembled hydrazine in the water when you looked at it?
I have not looked at any of the products myself.
Okay, you didn't do any testing on the water yourself?
I did not test any of the water myself.
Okay. Did you ever inspect the real water facility?
I did not.
Okay. Did you ask to do that as part of your work?
I did not.
Did you ever inspect any of the equipment used at the real water facility?
I did not.
Okay. And so none of the equipment from real water was provided to you so you could look at in your office or lab?
That is correct.
Did you ever speak with anyone at real water?
I did not.
Did you, we talked about the water, did you set up any type of experiments or lab testing on real water?
I did not.
Now, real water performed testing on their final product. Is that your understanding?
They performed some testing, yes.
Okay, and so the water that came into the facility would have been from a municipal water source?
That is my understanding.
Okay, in this case, the Las Vegas Valley Water District?
That is my understanding.
Okay. And that water, when it came in, would have been treated and tested because that's the same water that comes out of everyone's faucet when they turn it on in their home?
That is correct.
Okay. And then real water tested their final product as well?
They tested for a few parameters, yes.
Well, can you explain the testing that they did?
They tested the pH of the water. They tested the salinity of the water. And they tested for bacteria in the water.
Okay. They also tested for, oh, didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry.
I don't recall the whole test. This is what I recall.
Okay. Multiple tests.
There were other parameters that I don't remember.
Okay. Tests for metals, for example?
I do not recall seeing any metals analysis.
You mentioned bacteria and other contaminants as well?
There were others that I don't recall.
Okay. But basically, if someone said real water performed no testing, that would be incorrect, wouldn't it?
If someone said exactly those words, that would be incorrect.
Okay, no testing.
If they said no testing without saying for what, then that would be a correct statement.
Okay. You've gone through here and discussed for us the process of making the E2 concentrate. Bless you. Again, going back, the water comes from a municipal source, and you talked about adding some salts and minerals to the water, and that's just to adjust the water chemistry. Would you agree?
Correct.
Okay. They didn't put dangerous amounts of minerals or salts in the water.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. This just adjusts the pH.
And salinity.
Okay. You see on bottled water, you buy at the store, they'll say minerals added for taste, that kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. After that, they purify the water and take multiple steps, and I want to ask you about that process. Is that something that you reviewed?
You mean on the municipal water?
Yes.
Yes,
They went through a purification process.
correct.
Okay. And that was, there was a filtration process with activated carbon. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, activated carbon is a product that removes chlorine from water. So if water is coming in, it's similar to the material that's in the refrigerator filter.
Okay, thank you. There was also something called UV disinfection.
Yes.
What is that?
UV light is a disinfectant, so it can neutralize any microorganisms that pass through.
Okay, and that's part of that was part of Real Water's filtration process?
As I understand it, that is part of the filter system that they used, yes.
Okay. There was also reverse osmosis. What is that for?
Reverse osmosis, again, like some homes put a reverse osmosis system, is to remove any salts from the water.
Okay. You were contacted to investigate how hydrazine got into the real water, and you came up with two hypotheses that you've explained today. I want to ask you a little bit more about that. The first theory is that nitrogen that's in the air became soluble in water, and then during the electrolysis process, the nitrogen bonded with hydrogen, and that created the hydrazine.
That is one hypothesis, yes.
Okay, one of your hypotheses.
Yes.
Okay. This isn't a process of how people who intentionally are making hydrazine go about making it, is it?
No.
Okay. This was a fluke, not intended.
Chemistry is chemistry. So this is the hypothesis of how nitrogen gas from the air became hydrazine.
Okay, but you would agree Real Water was not a hydrazine making plant.
No, that's speculation.
I was just saying.
Would you agree that no one was trying to create hydrazine that was in the water?
I'm sorry, Mr. Wait till your question back. No, that's called speculation as well.
I was just saying.
All right. And the second theory is hydrazine was created by a chemical reaction between ammonia and chlorine. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And in your opinion, is that the formation of this hydrazine was created by one of these two possible chemical reactions?
Or both.
Okay, so it could have happened by theory one, it could have happened by theory two, or a combination of the two theories together?
Chemical reactions happen in parallel. So one of them may have contributed 90%, the other one may have contributed 10%. What was formed, that is a research question I don't have the answer to.
Okay, so the exact, these were theories of yours, the exact reaction that happened, you don't know for sure?
I do not know.
Okay, I think you said you answered the question to the best you could.
Yes.
Prior to this case, have you ever seen hydrazine appear in a bottled water product?
No.
Would you agree it was surprising?
That's an understatement, yes.
Okay. I think you testified earlier that hydrazine's not a common chemical found in drinking water.
Correct.
And that it rarely occurs.
To my knowledge, correct.
And it's not even on the radar of the regulatory people who cover water.
I don't know what's on their radar. I have not seen a process in place that someone is looking to regulate it.
Okay. Just because it's so rare and uncommon?
I'm assuming that's why, but the regulators have their own thought process.
Okay. Did you perform any tests or experiments to test any of these theories?
I have not.
Pardon me. Dry out. You talked a little bit about the FDA findings. Did you review the FDA's investigations and tests that they perform?
I did.
Okay. Do you know, when did the FDA receive the water samples?
I don't recall, but I think it was 2021, but
Okay.
I may be wrong.
Early, like in March?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you know when they found the hydrazine?
It would be in the report. I don't remember the date.
Okay. But the FDA performed a number of labs in testing of the water before they found the hydrazine.
That is my understanding, yes.
It wasn't easy to do or easy to find?
I don't know what easy means. The FDA analyzed 3 concentrate samples, and they found it in the 3 concentrate samples.
And it took a while to find that.
I don't know how long it took them to find it.
Have you seen any scientific literature linking the use of titanium to the creation of hydrazine from room air?
I have not.
Have you recommended to any of your clients to routinely test for hydrazine in the past?
I don't know anyone who uses this process, so I have not.
Okay. During your career as an expert dealing with hydrazine, have you ever heard of nitrogen from room air dissolving in water and resulting in hydrazine?
Nitrogen in room air dissolves in water all the time. That's a given. That's why water has oxygen. That's why water has nitrogen. So dissolving gas into water is a standard principle. The formation of the hydrazine is not.
Okay.
Is not one that I've seen in that fashion before.
Okay. That's not a common occurrence.
In typical water treatment, that is not a common occurrence.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Najim.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Barker?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
Shane, do me a favor, put up slide 20 on the screen for everyone. Let's answer some questions, Dr. Najim, that Mr. Freeman asked right off the bat. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry, I didn't say it, but good afternoon. Ready? Perfect. Okay, perfect. So the date that the results came in, October 2021. See that?
That is the date on the FDA report.
All right, go to the next page. Date received, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
March 30th, 2021.
Correct.
All right, so few months or almost a year from the time they started the investigation. I'm sorry, 3/21 and October 21. 7 months, a little less than 7 months, correct?
Correct.
Real Water was making that product since 2008. Did it take them 13 years to determine that the hydrazine was in the water?
I don't know if they ever determined that there's hydrazine in their water.
In fact, Dr. Najim, has Real Water put forth a single expert to refute your opinions in this case that you're aware of?
I have not seen that presented, no.
Have you seen an expert from Real Water come in and come up with their own conclusions as to how they put hydrazine or how hydrazine came to be in their product?
I have not seen that.
Has Real Water had an expert call you and say, Dr. Najim, we know you got these publications on hydrazine. We like to collaborate to figure out how did we get hydrazine in our water. Has that happened?
No.
Mr. Freeman's questions to you regarding whether or not one hypothesis over another was correct, based upon your investigation, are those the most likely ways that hydrazine was created?
This was an assessment of information and providing an opinion. There was no experimental work done. So this is my best attempt at explaining why water goes in with no hydrazine, comes out with tons of hydrazine.
That's right. And there's not a single, to your knowledge, not a single real water expert that has offered any competing theories on how they placed or how hydrogen was found in their water, correct?
I have not seen or heard of one.
So Mr. Freeman asked you about UV testing. Does UV testing have anything to do with hydrazine?
In my opinion, that filtration system is not relevant to the conversation. That filtration system coming out of it, I would venture to say there's no hydrazine in the water coming out of that filtration system.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman asked you about investigations. Have you seen any documentation where real water actually did an investigation of its water product?
Not that I have seen.
Have you seen any documentation, information from your review of the records that real water did any additional testing, GCMS testing, on their product despite years of medical complaints?
I have not seen any testing work.
So when Mr. Freeman asked you whether or not someone said there was no testing, is it fair to say that real water did not do any non-targeted GCMS testing, the same kind that the FDA did, on this water product?
That is my understanding. My answer to the question was about just the statement, did real water do any testing? Yes, you can test for pH. That doesn't mean anything for our conversation. But I was trying to be true to the question.
All right, so let's make it true, fully true to the question. When it comes to testing for liver toxins like hydrazine, did they do a single test that would have found hydrazine?
Not that I know.
All right. Mr. Freeman asked you whether or not you did an investigation. Remember that question?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that the FDA, the CDC, and the Southern Nevada Health District performed an investigation?
Yes.
Did you review the results of their investigation?
I did.
Do you question the validity of the samples taken of the concentrate by the FDA?
I have no reason to.
Do you have any reason to question the validity of the test done by the Eurofins laboratories on the
I have
retail
no
bottles?
reason. I'm sorry, I have no reason to.
Do you need the test after getting those reputable results?
No, and I was not asked to do that.
All right. In the FDA report, Doctor, as a part of their investigation, do you recall the FDA determining that real water failed to disclose their manufacturing process?
I do not recall any material on that aspect.
All right. Let me see if I can help you remember. Do you recall that there was a secret room or a room that they were used to do their process, the one we went through earlier today?
Objection exceeds the scope.
Your Honor, he opened the door by talking about the investigation.
Talk about testing too.
Absolutely.
Overall.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It was actually from reading the testimonies and the depositions at the time that there was a room where the recipe is put together in the containers that was sort of a private room where the water goes in.
That's right.
Stuff is added, and not everybody had access to the recipe because it was their proprietary claim to fame.
When you're being asked as a consultant, or someone working on behalf of a municipality, are they hiding their process from you when you're trying to determine water quality?
Objection calls for speculation.
He's doing the testing.
I understand. You can ask them, have they?
Have they hid their process when you've been hired to examine the quality of their water?
No.
Is it fair to say that you cannot determine the quality of their water if they hide the process?
They wouldn't hire me if they're going to hide the process.
That's right. Isn't it fair to say if you're concerned about the public health, you don't hide the process from the FDA, the CDC, and the Southern Nevada Health District?
That's a reasonable statement, yes.
No further questions, John.
Can we vote? All right, Doctor, we do have some questions from members of the jury, and then there might be a follow-up from counsel after they're done. But we have one question, and this is the first. And it's from juror number 6. Mr. Is that McConey?
McCain.
McCaney. Thank you, sir, for helping me with that. For my juror number 6, Mr. McCaney. And here's the question, sir. Quote, what would be the proper way to produce negative, in parentheticals, alkaline water?
There are two parts to that question. One is when you describe it as negative water, and when you describe it as alkaline water. Those are really two different things. Okay, so there are products on the market that are alkaline water. And those are basically waters that simply a caustic or a chemical is added to them to raise the pH. That's what makes them alkaline. So those are common out there. A negative water is one where you are doing this type of electrolysis on it to generate a negative water. Okay? But that is the only way I can answer the question about the negative part. The alkaline part is easy, it's a chemical addition part.
All right, thank you. And we have another question from juror number 4, Mr. Dixon. Quote, is it possible for hydrazine to go undetected in drinking water if the quantity of hydrazine is low enough?
Oh, absolutely. It can be at fairly high concentrations, but it's dissolved in the water and you would not know it. You would not taste it, you would not smell it, but it would be above what someone would deem to be a safe level, for sure.
And there's a follow-up from Mr. Dixon. Quote, would hydrazine still be considered harmful if the quantity is low enough?
I'm not a toxicologist, so I got to say that up front. The challenge is, what is the meaning of the word harmful? You know, you can go harmful from convulsing when you drink it versus harmful where it slowly causes you disease over time. That is a wide range. So, you know, where do you define that floor of saying above that is harmful, below is not harmful? Depends on how you're looking at it. So the number that I mentioned to you, the 10 to the minus 6 cancer risk level, that is what in the regulatory world it's called the de minimis level. That means it is the level below which the effect is insignificant. And that's the best way I can answer that question, is that 10 nanograms per liter is considered to be the cutoff where below it the effect is not significant on humans.
All right. We have another question from panel member number 4, Mr. Dixon. Quote, were samples 1 and 2 tested differently compared to the other samples?
No, they were analyzed with the same method. The challenge here is that, again, it was a couple of years later. So one bottle may have some left in it, another bottle may not have some that you can measure. That's expected.
All right, sir, we have one more, doctor, from Mr. Dixon, number 4. Quote, during your research of hydrazine, how much of it would have to be in normal water to be considered harmful?
So we're back to the harmful question, and that's really where that 10 number is. You know, we all need numbers to work with. You know, what is okay, what's not okay. Right now, that is the number that's out there for us to judge whether, you know what, I need to do something to reduce it, or that's below what that minimum floor is.
All right, and that's it for questions. Any follow-up, Mr. Parker?
Just one, Your Honor. Dr. Najam, given your responses to those jury questions, which are all very good, 10 minus 6 is the number you've given us as a threshold for concern about health. Based upon the test results we've seen with Eurofins testing and then the FDA testing on the concentrate, those results were 1 billion times greater than 10 to the minus 6?
The ones in the concentrate, yes.
No further questions. Thank you.
Do you know if anyone drank the E2 concentrate straight?
I don't know.
Now, you were asked some questions about the ways of making alkaline water. You've never been involved in or consulted with a company that makes alkaline water, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And they asked, is there proper or improper ways to make alkaline water? In your understanding and expertise, is there's many ways and processes to make an alkaline water product, is that right?
That's not what I said. What I said is that the alkaline component of this question, that's by adding a chemical that is an alkaline chemical to the water.
But different companies make alkaline water in different ways.
That's their claim to their proprietary product, yes.
All right, thank you very much, doctor.
Thank you.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Oh, sorry.
Okay. And our next witness will be?
Your Honor, we would call Dr. Mahajan to the stand. Your Honor, we approach you.
Yeah, we.
Your Honor, we would call Dr. Mahajan to the stand.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that.
Please do.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Jay, J-A-Y. Last name is Mahajan. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear with all of that.
First name is Jay, J-A-Y. The last name is Mahajan, Mahajan.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mahajan.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Mahajan, would you please tell the jury what specialty of medicine do you practice?
I practice neurology, general neurology.
Can you please describe your educational background for us?
So I received my Bachelor's of Arts in Biological Sciences at USC, University of Southern California. And then I went on to get my medical degree at Terry University of Nevada here in town. And then
Where did you do your internship and residency training?
I did my traditional internship year over at Valley Hospital here in town, and then continued with the neurology residency after that.
And are you board certified?
I am.
And what does it mean to be board certified?
To be board certified means that there is a medical specialty board that has very stringent testing that you have to pass in order to become a specialist in the field.
And in what area are you board certified?
In neurology.
Okay. Do you belong to any professional memberships?
I do. I belong to the American Academy of Neurology, as well as the American Osteopathic Association.
Have you written articles?
Yes, I have. I've written several articles that have been published in the Journal of American Osteopathic Association.
And have you been an investigator on any research-related projects to MG?
Yes, I have. I just wrapped up a research study by a company called Lexion for a drug that was recently approved and is being used in patients now for myasthenia gravis.
So yeah, MG is myasthenia gravis.
Yes.
You'd like to say that, yes. Doctor, how many years have you been practicing now?
A little over 10 years now.
You look awfully young. You've been practicing 10 years.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Do you have hospital privileges?
I do. I have privileges in all the Valley Health System hospitals. I believe that's a total of 6 hospitals, and Mountain View, so a total of 7 hospitals in the Valley.
Okay. And what are hospital privileges? What does that mean exactly?
That means you have to apply for privileges. You get approved to be able to see patients at that location, at that hospital. And we take call for several hospitals in town, so you have to meet standards to be able to care for patients at the facilities.
And where are you currently employed? Are you with the group?
Yes, I am a partner at Las Vegas Neurology Center.
Okay. And would you please detail for us the scope of your practice as a neurologist?
Sure. So I'm a general neurologist, so I do a little bit of everything, which is what I enjoy. We treat everything from strokes to brain bleeds in the hospital setting and outpatient in the clinic. We do migraine headaches. We treat Parkinson's disease. We deal with MG or myasthenia gravis. We deal with ALS, dementias. We do everything from treating issues with the nervous system, including nerve damage, issues with balance and memory.
Okay. And are you one of Lisa King's treating physicians?
I am.
Okay. And what have you reviewed in preparation for your testimony today?
So I've reviewed my clinic notes, all of my clinic notes. I tend to, if I have a patient, I tend to gather notes from hospitals, including Centennial Hills and other hospitals. It's kind of my standard practice to get all the information I can from my patients to review. I've gone over...
do you gather records from other physicians who have treated her before you with respect to the same symptoms you're now treating before?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and did you gather those?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I went over Lisa's records from her ENT, her infectious disease doctor. I also reviewed records pertaining to Lisa from her allergist as well. I took a look at records from Quest labs that were done, as well as records from her physical therapy at Lyons as well.
And is Dr. Anjum, is that her?
That's her primary care physician, forgive
primary
me.
care.
I also took a look at Dr. Anjum's records as well.
And what about the Mayo Clinic records?
Yes, I requested those and reviewed those as well.
Okay. And in preparation for your testimony today, did you meet with me?
Yes.
And when did you meet with me?
I met with you on Monday for approximately 1 hour and on Wednesday for approximately 1 hour.
Okay, so last night.
Yes.
Okay. Let me back up a little bit. What about Dr. Heisen? Did you obtain and review his records as part of your?
I did. I also, forgive me, I also reviewed Dr. Heisen's records. he is a former neurologist that Lisa was seeing prior to seeing me.
All right. Now, did you have the opportunity to examine, evaluate, and provide medical treatment for Lisa for her myasthenia gravis?
Yes.
And when did you first begin treating Lisa?
I believe it was May 19th, 2019.
Is it May 21st?
Oh, May 21st, excuse me.
Yeah.
May 21st, 2019. Forgive me.
And how many times have you seen Lisa since your evaluation on May 21st, 2019?
A total of 27 times.
Okay. Brendan, could you bring up, please, Exhibit 1033, page 3?
That's not admitted.
All those exhibits are admitted.
Yeah, but we didn't formally go over which ones, number by number.
And we can't do that right now. Just continue.
Can I go forward? Thank you, Your Honor.
We can't do that. You can take care of it afterwards. We can't do it right now. Let's go.
All right, thank you, Judge. I'd like you to take the jury through Lisa's myasthenia gravis symptoms leading up to seeing you on May 21st, 2019. When did Lisa's MG symptoms first begin?
So according to this note by Dr. Heisen, who's also a neurologist in town who's now retired, but on October 1st, 2018, Lisa presented with complaints of sudden onset of tremors in her body that started approximately 5 to 6 weeks prior to presenting to his clinic.
So the symptoms would have, if this is October 1st, 5 to 6 weeks, the symptoms would have been September, August of 2018.
Correct.
Okay. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1050, page 1. Did she complain of tremors to any of her doctors?
Yes, this is a record from Dr. Seema Anjum, who was her PCP at the time, on February 14, 2019. She followed up for tremors in the hands as well as leg tremors.
Okay. Brendan, could you please bring up Exhibit 1029, page 20? What other MG symptoms was Lisa complaining of during this time?
Well, she was having, she saw Joel Katz on March 27th, 2019. He's an allergist, and basically she's complaining of swelling to the cheeks, pain in the face at that time.
Okay. And Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1022, 1029, page 21. And what symptoms was she having at this time on April 19th, 2019?
At that time, she started having kind of more systemic symptoms. She was having fatigue, itching, swelling again in the face, and some other parts of her body.
Okay. And Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1050, page 3. And then, does this document any other symptoms she was having?
Yeah, so she saw Dr. Anjum again, went back to see her PCP, April 22nd, 2019. She started having some palpitations, which are having like a fast heart rate, and also some throat discomfort.
Okay, Brendan, could you bring up Exhibit 1036, page 6, please? Can you tell us what symptoms are documented here by Dr. Sykand on April 21st, 2019?
Sure. So Dr. Sykand's an ear, nose, and throat doctor. She started to experience dyspnea, which is shortness of breath, and some episodes of choking at that time.
And Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1030, pages 20 through 21. And on May 14th, 2019, it looks like she saw Dr. Costello, or Angela Costello, is that correct?
Correct. So Angela Costello noted that she was having some left arm pain. She'd been complaining about 2 months, it started 2 months before to seeing her in May of 2019.
Okay. And was she from with the clinical infectious disease specialist?
Yeah, so she's part of the team over at the infectious disease doctor's office.
Brendan, could you pull up Exhibit 1037, page 19 and 21, please? When did she next go to the doctor for her myasthenia gravis symptoms?
So this is where she followed up at my office on May 21st, 2019. She had...
What were her complaints or chief complaints at this first appointment.
Yeah, at that point, she was experiencing dysesthesia, was lack of sensation to the face. She was having general shaking, diffuse shaking, meaning shaking throughout the body, and having issues with some tingling sensations on both sides of the face as well.
And the shaking, is that tremors? That's what's described as tremors in the record?
Yes, we describe it as tremors, and tremors can be caused by different things. So in her case, she was having her muscles that were shaking throughout her whole body.
Can you please explain, okay, so after you completed your initial evaluation of Lisa, what was your assessment?
So we came with the assessment at the time with the information that they had that she had a facial nerve injury. The facial nerves travel through the face, and that's the area where she was having the discomfort, and also a tremor of unknown origin.
And was that a working, what's called in your profession, a working diagnosis?
Correct. So
What
usually
does that mean?
a working diagnosis is what we believe it may be until we have more information.
Okay.
So,
And what were your plans for Lisa at that time?
the thought was myasthenia gravis, and so we sent some labs out. We sent what's called a myasthenia gravis panel out to check and see if that's what she had.
Could you bring up exhibit 1034, page 13, please, Brendan? And what does a myasthenia gravis blood panel test for?
Well, it tests for proteins that the body creates that affect the transmission of signals between muscles, basically. So these are antibodies, is what they're called, certain proteins. And so it tests for levels of antibodies within the patient's blood.
Is that what's referred to as the AChR binding antibody?
Correct. So that's acetylcholine receptor binding antibody specifically.
What was the results of that test?
Her labs were elevated, which confirms a diagnosis of myasthenia gravis.
And so it confirms the diagnosis of myasthenia gravis. In normal, what was her levels, and what is a normal range?
So a normal range would be 0.31 to 0.49. Her levels were 17.
Brendan, please bring up exhibit 1037, page 80. What did you diagnose Lisa with based on the results of this blood test?
We diagnosed her with myasthenia gravis.
Was your diagnosis based on any other factors? And Brendan, if you could bring up the slides relevant to this.
So we always look at labs that helps us guide, but the main thing is clinically also what's happening with her when we do physical examinations, what complaints she's had. So in her case, she had symptoms affecting her vision. She had symptoms affecting her musculoskeletal system, which includes, muscles in her arms, her back, her spine, hands, feet. It also can affect what are called bulbar muscles, which are muscles in your head and neck. Those muscles are responsible for talking, chewing, swallowing, and that can really affect, and even in severe cases, obviously, it can also affect your diaphragm. It can affect your breathing as well.
Can you kind of describe for the jury explain what myasthenia gravis is?
So essentially what happens is muscles and muscle junctions, which are the muscle cells, communicate with each other, and through this chronic autoimmune process, certain proteins.
Is it a chronic autoimmune disease?
It is,
Okay,
yes.
go ahead, doctor, sorry.
So no, it's okay. Through this process, basically, proteins are created that disrupt the signal between those muscles. So over time, as these proteins build up in the system, it can cause an issue and affect you in a multitude of ways.
Does it cause the body's immune system to mistakenly attack proteins in the neuromuscular junction where the nerves connect to the muscles?
That's correct, it does.
Okay. And what does this result in?
It can result in difficulty with walking, climbing stairs, issues with even raising your hands up. You can have problems with speaking, swallowing, chewing.
And does it result in skeletal muscle weakness?
It does, yes. It can make you very weak, generally.
And can it also cause weakness in the respiratory muscles?
Yes, that's the most concerning, symptom someone can have. Your diaphragm, which is responsible for your breathing, can be affected. And if that wears out, then you're not able to breathe, and you could end up on a respirator and even die.
Okay. And I think you have gone over with us what functions myasthenia gravis can impair. And you said, I think, affect your ability to chew, swallow,
Speak.
talk, walk.
Even walk, yes.
Okay. Do patients often have trouble climbing stairs with myasthenia
They do.
gravis?
Getting up from a seated position, climbing stairs becomes difficult. As I mentioned, raising your arms above your head. Simple movements like that we take for granted can become very difficult. For
And
these
what are the
patients.
common symptoms of myasthenia gravis?
You can have tremors. You can have diffuse muscle weakness. You can have issues with swallowing. You can have tightness in your throat. Vision changes.
Slurred speech,
Slurred speech.
droopy eyelids,
And droopy eyelids, correct.
and can you have limited facial expression ability?
It can, because your muscles in your face can get weak.
To help the jury understand, does myasthenia gravis mimic any other known neurological disorders?
It does. It can mimic ALS, which is a very devastating disease that also affects the peripheral nervous system. Lou Gehrig's disease, you may have heard it, but it has similar, symptoms to that.
Doctor, I'm gonna, Your Honor, may I have Dr. Mahajan come out of the box for just a moment? You may step in. I'm gonna have you come down here for a second, if you don't mind. And got this diagram we copied out of a book or off the internet or something like that. And this picture of the body, human body. And can you please illustrate for the jury the various areas of the body MG affects using this diagram?
Sure, absolutely. So, as we kind of discussed, it can affect the eyebrows and cause ptosis, which is drooping of the eyelids, which can affect your vision. You're able to drive, you can't do any simple reading. It can affect your eyes, and it'll cause double vision, blurry vision issues there. It can definitely affect.
See if I can get you a little better marker. That seems to be a little bit dull.
It can affect your ability to chew. It can cause facial pain, as well as issues with swallowing, which is a big problem because if you can't swallow properly, food can end up in your lungs and cause infections and so on and so forth. It can affect all the muscles in your neck, and your neck can feel heavy. It becomes difficult to hold your head up at times. And then down the arms, in multiple areas, you can have muscle weakness. Down the spine, it can affect you. And then down the legs, and weakness in the hands and the feet. The scariest part can be, with the diaphragm itself, which is a muscle right here in the chest that, can cause breathing, and so that can really be affected as well. It can be life-threatening.
And doctor, how many areas of Lisa's body has her MG affected?
Lisa's been affected in all these areas.
And would that be negatively affected?
Negatively affected in all these areas.
All right, thank you. Sit back down. May I approach, Your Honor? Your Honor, I would ask that this be marked as plaintiff's exhibit 1204, which is next in order for identification.
All right, we can have a mark.
I'll work it later.
Let me give it back to you. Did you put the sticker on it?
No, I'll do that later.
Okay, Your Honor, at this time, I would move for admission in plaintiff's exhibit 1204.
No objection. Shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Dr. Mahajan. Dr. Mahajan, can a patient die from myasthenia gravis?
Yes, patients can die, usually from a respiratory issue. If they stop breathing, obviously not get oxygen, and don't make it to the hospital in time, that can lead to death.
Can patients end up on a ventilator from myasthenia gravis?
Yes, they can. So with myasthenia gravis, you can have something called an exacerbation, which means your body starts kind of shutting down, the muscles start getting weaker and weaker. In those severe situations, patients end up in the hospital. If not caught in a timely manner, a ventilator needs to be placed to help them breathe.
And what is a symptom of someone's throat closing who has myasthenia gravis?
So when that happens, that becomes difficult to breathe. Also, that feeling of, the bulbar feeling of choking is often a common complaint with these patients as well.
Is this a constant complaint of Lisa's?
It is, every day.
What treatment did you recommend for Lisa at this time?
Initially, I recommended a medication called proteostigmine. It's a medicine that allows the communication between those muscle junctions to work more effectively.
Did she take this medication?
She tried it, but she had difficulties tolerating it.
Why is that?
Due to her autoimmune hepatitis, from a GI standpoint, she had a hard time tolerating that medication.
Brendan, could you bring up Exhibit 1030, page 18, please? How did Lisa's MG symptoms progress following her initial appointment with you?
So she went and saw Dr. Deval Shaw, who's part of the infectious disease team, on May 29th, 2019, and she complained of continued fatigue and dizziness when she saw him.
Okay. Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1038, page 383, please. Can you tell us what was going on here on June 10th, 2019 with her?
So Lisa was sent out to Mayo Clinic for further evaluation for the myasthenia gravis. Oftentimes, I'll ask, some larger tertiary centers where there are neuromuscular specialists in cases like this to, to get some feedback and work with them. And they when she presented in June 10th, 2019, she had difficulty swallowing when she saw the doctor there.
Okay. Brendan, let's bring up Exhibit 1037, pages 77 and 79. When did you see Lisa next, doctor?
So she followed up on June 19th, 2019. At the time, she continued to have numbness, dysesthesia in the face with the generalized shaking.
The diffuse shaking or tremors?
Tremors throughout the whole body, yes.
What was your assessment at that time?
Again, facial nerve injury was part of the assessment.
Now, why was this working diagnosis still in your assessment when at this point you had diagnosed her with myasthenia gravis?
So, the pain that she was having, we wanted to differentiate whether the nerves in the face were also affected at the time or not.
Brendan, could you bring up Exhibit 1037, pages 73 and 75, please? When was Lisa's next appointment with you, doctor?
She followed up on June 24th, 2019.
What was her symptoms, complaints at this appointment?
She also had diffuse tremors in her body with the dysesthesias in the face, the numbness in the face. She had some neck heaviness that she had recently been to Summerlin Hospital for.
She had a tightening in her neck?
Tightening in her neck.
Difficulty
weakness.
breathing?
Yep, difficulty breathing, fullness in her throat.
What did you do at that time?
I actually, at the time, we wanted to monitor her closely.
Well, she had been to Summerlin Hospital before you saw her. I guess I misunderstood.
Yeah, so she went to Summerlin Hospital several days before the complaints. She was evaluated. They did not admit her at the time. And so we kind of evaluated her in office, and I asked her to present to the hospital if anything got worse.
Did she also complain of vocal cord weakness and fatigue at that time?
Yes, she did.
Okay. What was your assessment of this appointment?
Still facial nerve injury because of the pain she was having in her face, myasthenia gravis, and the neck stiffness that she was complaining about.
Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1039, page 29, please. Now, you mentioned that she visited Summerlin Hospital a few days before you saw her. Was she admitted?
She was not.
Okay. Now, the day after her appointment with you on June 25th, 2019, was there somewhere you sent her?
Yes, I sent her to Centennial Host Hospital due to her worsening symptoms.
Was this a myasthenia, what you called a flare-up?
Yes, this is a flare-up or what we call an exacerbation.
Okay. And was this primarily due to the tightening sensation in her throat, among her other symptoms?
Yes, the weakness, the tightening sensation of her throat, the culmination of symptoms. My fear was that things were going to continue to decline and she'd be at risk.
And did they admit Lisa to the hospital that day?
They did.
Okay. And what causes Lisa's MG flare-ups or exacerbations?
So MG flares can be caused by anything from stress to infection. Sometimes surgeries can trigger these exacerbations. Medications sometimes can actually trigger the exacerbations. But the scary part is it can happen for no reason at all.
I'm having the same problem you were having.
Yeah, that's why I just don't even use it anymore. Learn my lesson.
I don't know if you need it, Mr. Agnew.
Don't think I need it? That's fine with me. And what, please bring up Exhibit 1039, page 302, Brendan. What treatment did you give her for her exacerbation at the hospital at that time?
I gave her a treatment called IVIG for a period of 3 days.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury what IVIG therapy is?
So IVIG therapy is intravenous immunoglobulin therapy. So it's basically proteins that we have in our tissues and in our blood that act to fight infection. And so this is used to treat exacerbations, to basically kind of dull the process that's going on.
Does it help to dampen the immune system?
It does.
Okay. And our antibodies, are they the natural proteins in your body that makes to help you fight infections?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And is this IVIG typically administered in several rounds over 3 days?
It is. Typically, typically patients get anywhere from 3 to 5 days of treatment in the hospital.
Okay. And what is the IVG made from? How does it?
So the IVIG is actually it's from people that donate plasma, basically. So it's the plasma is gathered and basically it's put through a stringent kind of clearing process, and it's isolated from a pool of on average of 8,000 donors, basically. So we pull all that.
8,000 blood donors.
Correct.
Donated their plasma.
Yes.
Okay. Does IVIG carry a risk of transmitting a viral infection via the donor's antibodies it contains?
Yes, there is a risk. Modern technology is pretty good, but there's no guarantee. So the risks of viruses like HIV, hepatitis B, even something called prion disease, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, CKJ can be transmitted.
What is that?
It's something commonly known as mad cow disease. It's a prion disease that can actually be transmitted as well. It causes neurological weakness, a quick mental decline, and usually demise for these patients.
Demise, death.
Death.
Okay. Now, there are screening techniques they use.
Yes.
Okay. Do these screening tests eliminate all risk?
Not all risk.
Okay. Is there also a risk that a donor's blood contains an infection that wasn't caught by screening procedures because it was an unknown disease, like in early 2020?
Yes, so things like COVID, we didn't know much about it. So there's always risk for some of these viruses passing through that we don't know much about.
And can it also be not caught in a screening procedure because the donor's infection was too early in its stage to be picked up?
Yes, that's a possibility as well.
Does Lisa experience any side effects from IVIG therapy?
She does.
What are those?
It takes a toll on her body. She feels flu-like symptoms. She feels really tired and fatigued after the infusions, and also she experiences migraines.
Can that last days or a week or so?
Yeah, it can last days to a week plus.
Pull up exhibit, shows exhibit 1048, page 1, please, Brendan. Did Lisa's symptoms resolve after that hospitalization?
No, they did not.
And what, here on August 1st, 2019, what symptoms documented at Lyons Physical Therapy?
So she presented to her physical therapist. They noticed that she was having difficulty breathing, in addition to difficulty with swallowing. They also noticed some facial twitching that was going on at that time, and some what she described as internal tremors.
And Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1037, page 61. When did you next see Lisa after the hospital stay that we just went over?
So I saw her on August 22nd, 2019. And at that time, she was having difficulty with swallowing. She complained of issues with what's called hypophonia. The vocal cord muscles get weak. So when you talk, it's very soft. You can't speak loudly. It becomes very difficult to do that. She also complained of facial twitching, which she had complained of at her physical therapy appointment prior to that, and pressure in her neck as well.
Muscle spasms?
Yes, muscle spasms. And blurry vision.
And was she having pressure in her neck over the carotid arteries?
Correct, on the sides here, she was complaining of.
What are the carotid arteries?
The carotid arteries are one of the larger arteries that supply blood to your brain. And so she was having some pressure and discomfort in those areas.
Was she having any issue with her vision at that time?
She was experiencing blurry vision at that time.
What was your treatment recommendation at that appointment?
I recommended she go to the hospital for more IVIG treatment.
Okay. And Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1039, pages 11 and 14. Was Lisa admitted to the hospital?
She was.
And how did they treat Lisa's MG flare-up at the hospital at that time?
She required IVIG again for a period of 3 days.
Okay. How many?
3.
And so that one round a day?
That's one round a day consecutively for 3 days.
Okay. Brendan, please bring up, so that's one round of these 8,000 donors?
Yes, correct.
When did Lisa, Brendan, please pull up Exhibit 1037, page 96. Can you tell us when did you see Lisa next after she was discharged from Centennial Hospital?
So October 7th, 2019, she came back to my office.
What symptoms was she experiencing at that time?
She was experiencing difficulty swallowing with solids and liquids at that time. She was having trouble with speaking and dryness in her throat as well.
Was she having muscle spasms?
Muscle spasms continued with twitching all over her body.
Vision disturbances?
Blurry vision as well.
She having tremors all over her body?
Yes.
Okay. Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1037, page 89. Did these symptoms resolve?
No.
Did you see her again on January 6, 2020?
I did.
And what was she complaining about at this time?
So at that time, she had progression of symptoms that now involved her back. She started having really bad back spasms. Tightness in her throat that continued and progressed as well.
Was she having weakness in her legs?
Weakness in both legs as well, yes.
Okay. Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1037, page 91. What was your assessment at that point, at that appointment with Lisa?
So she continued to have the facial nerve injuries, the neck stiffness. She was having issues with her slurred speech and issues with her balance, or it's called gait disturbance. She was experiencing leg cramps, vocal cord issues, speech abnormalities, and she continued to have the tremors in her whole body.
All right, thank you. Have the symptoms you've just taken us through been persistent symptoms Lisa has experienced since being diagnosed with myasthenia gravis?
Yeah, they've been persistent and progressive.
And progressive, getting worse?
Yes.
Okay. Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1039, pages 648 and 661. When was Lisa next hospitalized for an MG exacerbation?
On November 23rd, 2022, she had been experiencing tightness of the throat that was progressive and started 2 days prior to her going to the hospital. It was pretty severe exacerbation.
And how did you treat her exacerbation, or how did they treat her exacerbation in the hospital at that time?
She actually required 4 days of IVIG this time.
4 rounds?
4 rounds, yeah.
Okay. So 4 consecutive
days.
Okay. Did you, at this time, recommend or prescribe monthly IVI treatments at any time? Well, let me back up. Did you recommend or prescribe monthly IVI treatments at any time to be done on an outpatient basis at your office?
Yes. Back in 2019, we had discussed it and I recommended it.
Okay. So if an attorney stood up in this courtroom and suggested that you had never recommended monthly IVIG treatments for Lisa in the past, would that be a true statement?
That would be false.
Okay. Has there ever been another time prior to 2025 when you've been treating Lisa for her MG that you recommended she have monthly IVI treatments on an outpatient basis in your office?
Yes.
And what brought that about the second time?
So her symptoms were getting progressive. This admission to the hospital in November was so severe that, I really wanted her to stay on a regular treatment.
Is that November 2022?
2022, I'm sorry, yes, November 2022. I wanted to make sure that we kept her on a treatment so she wouldn't end up back in the hospital over and over again and put her life at risk, essentially.
Okay. Was it sometime after that you recommended that she go to monthly treatments?
Yes.
Okay. And when after this flare-up, when she was in the hospital for 4 consecutive days with IVI treatment, well, let me back up. Why, after this flare-up in November 2020 and these 4 days of IVI treatment in the hospital, did you recommend monthly IVI treatments for her?
Just because her symptoms, as I mentioned, were getting worse and worse over time. And it reached a point to where I felt that it was a true risk if she was not receiving this treatment.
Did you think it was a better way to help manage her symptoms?
Yes, definitely.
And did she go to monthly treatments for a period of time?
She did.
And Brendan, please bring up Exhibit 1011, page 50 and 52. And when did they start?
They started on February 15th, 2023. She received 2 consecutive days of IVIG. It says Panziga, that's a brand of IVIG that she received in the office.
So she had an IVI treatment at your office on an outpatient basis in February 2023, February 15th and 16th, 2023.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And the charge there says Panziga is IVIG.
Correct, it's a brand of IVIG.
How many rounds did you give her, and was it over 1 day?
We gave her 2 rounds over 2 days, 2 separate days, back to back.
And after that, did Lisa inquire or ask you whether instead of doing it over 2 days, you could do it over 1 long day?
Yes.
And why did Lisa ask you if you could do it over 1 day instead of 2 days?
So anytime you have IVIG, you have to gain access. So they have to put in a needle basically and get to your vein. So Lisa's what we call a hard stick. It's difficult to get that access. So anytime she goes to have this procedure done, she'd have to get poked multiple times and it becomes very, very painful. And not only that, anytime you poke in those areas, over time scar tissue can build up. And so we decided to try to do the 2 days over slow drip over 6-7 hours so she can receive it all at once so she doesn't have to get poked over and over again.
When was the next time you did IVIG on an outpatient basis at your office for Lisa?
I believe it was, I remember the date offhand.
March 16th?
Yeah, March 16th. There it is. So March 16th she did Panziga again.
In 2023?
Yes, correct.
Okay, a month later.
A month later.
Okay. Was Lisa's IVIG in March 2003 over 2 days or just 1 day?
It was over 1 day.
Was it 2 rounds?
It was 2 rounds done in 1 day, correct.
It was a long 1 day.
Long day, yeah, it took about 6 hours plus.
And why was it over a long period of time? Why do you do it over a long period of time?
So we tend to do it over a long period of time because the most common complaint is headaches. It can really, as I mentioned, fatigue, make you very, very tired. So we do it slowly so as to try and prevent migraines and severe headaches from occurring.
Does Lisa have a particular problem with this?
Yes, she does have a problem with it, yes.
Now, why are you able to give 2 rounds of IVI treatment in 1 day at your office, but when it's done in the hospital, they will only do 1 round a day?
So in the hospital, usually it requires treatment from 3 to 5 days. Typically, you can do 2 days, or you 2 rounds in a 24-hour period. But if you do any more than that, the side effects can compound and it can become unbearable on the body. So we typically can do 2 days in a row, or sorry, two IVIG treatments in 1 day. But beyond that, we don't do any more than that.
Okay.
It'd be too risky.
Brendan, could you bring up Exhibit 1011, page 46? When is the next time that Lisa had IVIG treatment at your office on an outpatient basis after March of 2023?
That was on April 13th, 2023. She had, again, 2 rounds performed in 1 day.
Okay. Did Lisa return for an IVI treatment at your office on an outpatient basis in May 2023?
No.
Was there a particular reason for that?
Yes.
Your Honor, this would be a good time to take our afternoon break, if you like. It's a good break in my questioning.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're time for afternoon recess. I see a couple nods. All right. Remember, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else when you said we connected to this trial, or to read, watch, or listen to the report or commentary on the trial by any persons connected with this case or by any medium of information, including without limitations, newspaper, television, radio, social media. And last but not least, do not form or express any opinion on any subject connected with this trial and to the cause finally submitted to you. And we'll take 15, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. All rise for the report to the jury. Jury's clear, Your Honor. Please be seated.
Off the record, Your Honor?
No, just be good. If there's any issues regarding the exhibits,
I need an itemized list of every exhibit that is pre-admitted, because when it comes to motions, you could say, motion as to exhibit whatever to be pre-admitted. But I don't have exhibit number whatever. I don't know, these are thousands of exhibits. I don't know what the exhibits are, so I don't have a record of it. It could be pre-admitted, that's fine. I need a list of all of the exhibits.
Where is,
And it has to be on the record.
yeah, and they'll get it.
Will, Eric?
oh, I'm supposed to do this.
Have you guys gotten? Like, I brought this up in jury selection,
No worries.
From the school.
That's why I gave you mine.
and I greatly appreciate that.
That's the
Now
list you gave us.
I'm gonna get Eric, but we'll see
Because
what's
if
going on with
anything
you.
goes wrong with the exhibits, I can lose my job.
The one from.
We're not gonna let that happen.
Sorry.
And as far as this post report goes, as far as 1204, what do you want this to be called? Judge cannot be
Exhibit
on the bench, it's not a calendar.
Plaintiff's a trial. Yes, plaintiff's trial exhibit 1204.
Right, but I need a description.
No, that's diagram. I mean, I'm happy to tell the court. Your Honor?
And then, one more thing. The exhibit list, it goes from 1203 to 1801. There's no space for me to write anything with new exhibits. So can someone
Yeah,
from
we'll get
plaintiff's
that.
counsel give
We'll
me
get
a
that.
new list
We'll get
so
that.
that I can write in new exhibits?
We'll get that.
Thank you.
Counsel, excuse me. Your Honor, just for the record, plaintiff's counsel has a list of the pre-admitted exhibits they have circulated to us. We've had a chance to review, so I believe Counselor Peppermint has got a copy from the court.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just hit those numbers.
Okay.
Can we do it now?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks. You are too, right?
Yeah, I got them all.
On the record, yes.
And Tori, do you want me to just read them all, even the ones that have already been
The
admitted?
doctor said that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sir, yeah, take a
Thank you.
break.
Thanks so much.
So, and then let's get this started. Go ahead.
Are we on the record?
Yes.
Exhibits 1 through 11,
Okay.
Admitted.
13 through 53,
Shall be admitted.
Okay.
59 through 74,
Shall be admitted.
78 through 88,
Shall be admitted.
95 through 106,
Shall be admitted.
110 through 112,
Shall be admitted.
118 and 119,
Admitted.
129 through 132,
Admitted.
133 through 136,
Admitted.
138 and 139,
Admitted.
141 and 142,
Admitted.
Hang on. 141 and 142.
147 through 152.
Admitted.
152, you said?
Yes.
My list starts at 148 that I was provided.
147 is the current photo on the jury notebook.
That was, let me just take a look. Yeah, that's fine.
Admitted.
210 through 215,
Admitted.
229 through 231,
Admitted.
235 through 242,
No, 235 is a photo. Again, this is not consistent with the list that we were provided. 235 was not on the list, 210, 211 were not on the list.
These are just photos that were pre-admitted.
How about this? Let me see what you were. I'm just gonna do this because I don't think we're actually gonna have any conflict. Okay.
Is that the list I sent you this morning, Council?
Yes, it is.
And that one doesn't have the forward.
Yeah, that's well,
Okay, this is one that was forwarded to me. If you don't care if me standing over your shoulder, I'm perfectly fine to just.
no,
let you
yeah,
go.
that's fine.
Again, I don't think.
I'm
we have
sorry, Tori,
issues.
where did I leave off?
242.
Uh, 271,
Okay.
Admitted.
282 through 290,
Admitted.
312,
Admitted.
324 through 328,
Admitted.
340 through 343,
Admitted.
354 through 359,
Admitted.
372 through 373,
Admitted.
383 through 385,
Admitted.
387,
Admitted.
398 through 400,
Admitted.
403,
Admitted.
422 and 423,
Admitted.
430,
Admitted.
482, 484, 485, and 487,
You got all those?
485 and 487.
Admitted.
Exhibit 500,
Admitted.
Exhibit 711 and 712,
It's 712. Right.
Admitted.
Exhibits 1001 through 1,053,
Admitted.
1,061 through 1,070,
Admitted.
1,072,
Admitted.
1,081 through 1,154.
1,154.
Yeah.
Admitted.
And that was 1,081 through 1,154, right?
Correct. 1,161 and 1,162.
Admitted.
1,164 through 1,166. 1,168.
Admitted.
1,169.
Admitted.
1,171.
Admitted.
Was that 1,171?
Yes.
Yes. 1,174. 1,176.
Admitted.
1,177.
Admitted.
1,179.
Admitted.
1,183 through 1,188.
Admitted.
You said 1,177, right?
1,177, yes. But that was before, that wasn't the range.
1,178 was skipped, and then we started again at 1,179.
Right, okay.
So yeah, 1,176, 177, 1,178 is skipped, 1,179 is admitted. And then the range I just read starts at 1,183, and that goes through 1,188.
Admitted.
1,192 through 1,193.
Admitted.
1,195 through 1,203.
Admitted.
You said 1,200 what?
Admitted.
And then 1,826 through 1,833. And 1,853 through 1,854.
Admitted.
That's it.
Well done.
Thank you.
And then
Thank you, Eric.
you'll get me the exhibit list with the space so that I can add in 1204.
Yes.
Thank you.